Tonight to the debate which has the potential to determine whether terminally ill people should have the right to choose when and how they die.
The assisted dying bill has been put forward by a Yorkshire MP, Kim Leadbeater, but figures obtained by ITV News say, well, not every MP is that keen.
No, our political correspondent Charanpreet Kaur has been gauging opinion, and she has also been talking to one man with a degenerative disease which has afflicted his family, who wants the right to choose.
Josh Cook comes to life when he's teaching rugby, but unlike most 33-year-olds, he's had to think a lot about death.
I have Huntington's disease, which is a genetic terminal illness that's degenerative. I have a very long, slow decline in my future. Your mental side goes, you are no longer able to recognise those you love. You're no longer able to comprehend what's happening, to make an informed choice. And then the end starts where your throat muscles, you lose control, you start to choke to death.
That's what happened to Josh's grandmother and great-grandmother. His mum Lisa had Huntington's too.
Which takes 10 to 20 years.
For years, she and Josh campaigned together for the right to choose when and how they would die. But Lisa's symptoms got worse before that became possible. And this summer, she took matters into her own hands.
One weekend, I left to go play rugby, to then come home, walking into my house with a smile on my face, all happy, to then find my mother has taken her own life. Walking in and finding her will haunt me till the day that my time comes.
I need to try and make a difference.
Now there's a chance the law could change if MPs vote in favour of a bill proposed by Spen Valley MP Kim Leadbeater. She says too many are forced to die in pain and misery or to travel abroad to end their lives.
That is very inequitable because you have to spend £10,000–15,000 in doing so. Often people do that prematurely because clearly they have to be well enough to travel. And then there are those families where people have taken their own lives because they've been so desperate and so scared about what their end might look like. But again, they don't tell their loved ones before they take their own lives because they could be prosecuted. So you've got layers of the law, or rather the lack of law, that create a situation which is just not fit for purpose.
The terminally ill adults' end-of-life bill would permit people with less than 6 months left to live to be given assistance to end their life. They'd have to declare twice that they wanted to die, showing full mental capacity, and they'd need sign-off from 2 independent doctors, with the decision also sent to a High Court judge for final approval. There would be a jail sentence of up to 14 years for anyone found to have pressured someone into ending their life. Despite those safeguards, some fear the bill still poses a risk to vulnerable people. Professor Alan House has worked as a psychiatric consultant at Leeds General Infirmary for 15 years. He says checking for mental capacity isn't enough.
It's framed as if it's free choice or it's person's choice. Surely you can approve of people having personal choice. But you don't have a full choice if all the opportunities aren't available to you. Now that's surfaced a bit with the recognition that palliative care services are so lacking in this country.
The single biggest influence in my life.
Josh is grieving in the knowledge that his mum's dying wish wasn't fulfilled. It's now up to Parliament to decide whether to change the law so that his can be.
Yes, it's a really difficult subject, isn't it? Well, let's join our political correspondent Charanpreet Kaur. And Charanpreet, this issue is dividing our own MPs, isn't it?
It really is, Ian. I've asked every single MP from our region how they plan to vote come Friday. And of those that replied, 19 said they plan to vote in favour of changing the law around assisted dying. 11 said they'd be against it. But crucially, a further 18 still haven't made up their minds. Now, that broadly reflects the national picture. According to research by ITV News, 135 MPs say that right now they plan to vote against the bill. 84 said they'd be against, and 121 are undecided. That means that just a few days before the future of this bill is decided in Parliament, we still really don't know which way the vote is going to go. Now, let's consider for a second that this is going to be a seismic social change if it goes through. The last time MPs had a chance to vote on this was almost a decade ago, and campaigners like Katie will be incredibly disappointed if it doesn't go through. The government is officially taking a neutral stance on this, but some cabinet members have made their opinions known. Crucially, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, and Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, both say that they will vote against the assisted dying bill. If you consider that for this to come into law, the NHS, Wes Streeting's domain, and the courts, Shabana Mahmood's domain, would both have to be involved. That is really important. On the flip side, in our region, important figures like Louise Haigh, the Transport Secretary, Hilary Benn, the Northern Ireland Secretary, and Diana Johnson, the Policing Minister, are all in favour.
And Sharon Preet, why are some MPs voting against this bill?
Ian, it really varies, of course. Some people have religious objections, moral objections. Others think it could be a slippery slope. But Sir Edward Lee, the MP for Gainsborough, he's concerned about how this bill has been introduced. It's something called a private member's bill, and he thinks that won't give MPs enough time to consider it carefully enough.
This shouldn't be done by a private member's bill. It's very complex. There's no impact statement. It's very rushed. And I'm very interested in palliative care. And until we improve palliative care in this country and ensure that everybody can have a dignified death, we should not be giving people the alternative of dying in pain or assisted dying. I mean, we are funding death through this, but we're not funding life.
Sir Edward Lee has clearly made up his mind, but time is running out for the hundreds of MPs who've yet to do the same.
Sharon Preet at Westminster, thank you. And for a more in-depth look into this subject and an extended interview with Kim Leadbeater, head to our website or calendar on ITVX.